This is the Tomi Sule Podcast, your inspirational hub for everyday empowerment.
On the Tomi Sule Podcast, we discuss and learn about simple ways to live life better every day. This will help you approach challenges with a clear mind and open heart. My desire is to bring clarity to some important things that are often ignored, but needed to live better every day. With every episode, you will receive insights to live lighter, freer, and happier. I promise each episode will be eye-opening, providing clarity for better living. While I am not a typical therapist, I believe that my unique perspectives on issues and valuable lessons from real-life situations will benefit you. However, when necessary, you are encouraged to seek professional assistance on certain subjects. Welcome to the Tomi Sule Podcast, where it's all about inspiration, purpose, and lifestyle. Hi there. Welcome to the Tomi Sule Podcast. And today on this episode, we are looking at practicing joy, how to have a steady, productive life in spite of what may or may not be happening around you. Many times people confuse joy with happiness. Joy is more than an emotion. Joy is more than a mood. Joy is a state of being, not just based on an event or a situation. Happiness is an emotion based on happenings around you. It's a state of being which can often be temporary. However, for the sake of this podcast, I may use joy and happiness interchangeably. And no, I am not contradicting myself, but there are times when there is a deeper meaning to happiness, not just the dictionary meaning of happiness. And happiness is referring also to a state of being. Just like a character in the movie, I will not mention, said, "I'm not happy all day, every day. But if you ask me how I'm doing and you ask me how I am happy." So that's the kind of happiness that we're talking about. In a nutshell, I'm talking about how to be happy, how to be joyful as a state of mind, as a status quo. Even if there may be a temporary sad or worrying event or a traumatic season in your life. Now, in the School of Harvard, there is a faculty dedicated to happiness. Can you imagine? There have been multiple studies on happiness, and the most common thread in all the various researches that have been put out, that have emerged, is that happiness is not tied to what you have or to what is happening to you. Happiness is not tied, or rather joy is not tied to tied to possessions or tied to events. Happiness or joy is not based on positivity or positive thinking. It's not based on good events alone. One research study actually showed that the happiest people on earth experience sorrowful moments as well. There was pain in their lives. There were unfortunate events in their lives. But these things that would have broken other people, that would have made other people believe that these people do not have a chance at happiness, actually helped them to appreciate and hold dear the good. In other words, the rain makes you appreciate the sunshine. The lack makes you appreciate the abundance. So having loss, having pain, having certain things happen to them allows them to treasure and hold even more dearly the good and the more important things. It pushed them to chase joy even harder. It's now also discovered that happiness is more about the state of your mind, not about what's going on around you. Happiness is more about your value system. It's more about your perspective, how you see things. The state of your mind, your values, your perspective is what brings joy more than what is actually happening on the outside. When something terrible has happened, no matter how horrible it is, You're allowed to feel grief. You're allowed to feel sadness. You're allowed to feel sorrow. But you are not allowed to sit in despair. All hope is not lost. And whatever you're going through is not the end of it all. It's just temporary. That is a true state of happiness. There is an innate power within every single human being, within you and I, to create our own reality. You know, my husband talks about creating your own atmosphere. You can build your own joy bubble, irregardless of what is going on around you. Yes, happiness is a choice. You can choose to be happy. And it's also okay to not feel happy in every single moment. It's not realistically possible. But you can have a line that you will not sink below, a line that you will not cross. And should you cross that line, maybe in tears or in pain, you bounce right back up once you come to yourself. Well, to make things simple and easier, I'm going to be sharing 5 tips in this series. I'm going to stop at 2 just for the sake of time, and I'll give you 3 more in the next episode. Number 1, focus on things you can control. There are so many things beyond our control. There are things that happen to us that we didn't plan for. We didn't see it coming. The loss of a spouse, the loss of a loved one, sickness, being single but desiring a romantic relationship, being passed over for a promotion, going through financial hardship, or even a season of challenges that you can't even explain. Now, when you are going through these things, in that time, focus on the things you can control. There are things you cannot control, but there are things you can control. There are things you can change, like your state of mind, like your perspective. You can choose and refuse to not give up. Or rather, you can refuse to not quit and throw in the towel. You can choose to have hope. That is within your control. You can choose to reach out and ask for help from a trusted person within your inner circle. You can choose your words. You can choose to speak. You can choose to declare what you want to see. After all, it is said that we shall decree a thing and it will be established. In other words, what you say is what you will eventually see. You can choose to build positive habits and turn it into an opportunity to grow, to be bigger and better than you ever were before. The more we take responsibility for our lives, knowing that we are not victims of life, no matter what happens to us, we can choose to not be a victim of life. We can choose how we respond. And when we make that choice, the happier we will be. Number 2, practice intentional gratitude. The Bible says in all things give thanks, not for all things. In the midst of all things, give thanks. This means that in the good, in the not so great, and in the bad, we can choose to be grateful, because no matter how bad it is, it could have been much worse. And chances are it is much worse for someone around you. But those people choose to react differently. They choose to hold their head up and have hope and gratitude in spite of what challenges they may be facing. Gratitude is not our default reaction as human beings. The average human being doesn't say, "Oh, thank you, I just had an accident." No. Instead, complaining and cursing and blaming others or blaming events is what would be our natural reaction when we are going through certain unpleasant or unwanted situations. You can, and I can, reprogram our mind to default to gratitude by giving thanks at certain conscious times. You can give thanks when you start your car or you enter a vehicle to commute to a certain place. You give thanks every time you step out of that vehicle or mode of transport. Consciously, you train yourself, just like they trained us to give thanks and say grace before every meal. If we start to consciously give thanks at certain points of our lives, you give thanks as the first thing you do when your eyes open and you wake up from the bed. You give thanks as the first thing you do when you tuck your feet right back into bed. When we consciously give thanks at certain timed moments of our lives, for every payment we're able to make, for every meal that we're able to enjoy, for having family around us. When you consciously and intentionally begin to give thanks, when something unpleasant happens, chances are thanksgiving will be the first thing that you will default to rather than cursing or blaming. Or rather, after cursing and blaming, you remember the better version of yourself and you remember to give thanks. Thank God that you are single. Thank God that you are married. And if you are single, thank God in that situation and call forth a loving and supportive spouse. Thank God in the midst of financial lack and call forth opportunities for wealth and abundance. Thank God in that situation that is unpleasant and call those things that be not as though they were. By giving thanks in all situations, you will feel more in control of life and emotions. You will also feel the end of the cycle of helplessness and hopelessness and despair, even when you don't seem to have a solution or there seems to be no reprieve in sight. I hope this podcast has helped you thus far. Please drop a comment if you're going to practice intentional gratitude, if you're going to focus on what you can control, and let me know how it helps you. Don't forget, I have 3 more tips to share with you. I'll be doing so in the next episode. Don't forget to share. Don't forget to subscribe. Blessings to you and yours. Cheers to a better, brighter, and happier version of you. I always love hearing from my listeners, so I will be honored to hear from you. Share with me what you learned from this episode of the Tomi Sule podcast or questions that you would want me to address. You can send an email to podcast@tomisule.com. You're welcome to visit my website for other valuable resources that will inspire you. Visit www.tomisule.com. That's www.tomisule.com. Till next time, God bless you.
Thank you for joining Tomi on today's podcast. For more on Tomi Sule-Emmanuel, please visit www.tomisule.com. Have an awesome day further.